As a disclaimer, the following episode contains a brief discussion on suicide. If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, there are resources out there to help you. You can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. From there, you will be connected to a trained crisis worker who can provide you support and get you the help that you need. That number again is 1-800-273-8255. Just know, like in the words of Logic, we want you to be alive. And now, on with the show. How's it, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to How's It Cousins, the show where we take a look at the unique people of the world. We talk about them, we relate to them. Hopefully, we get you to relate to them as well so you can kind of feel what we're feeling here. Today's show is a tough one, everyone. We struggled a little bit with what we're gonna say here. Hopefully, the message comes through. But when we were growing up, there was one musical group. I wouldn't say it's the only one, but definitely one that when I mention it, you'll know. They rock the house. Their music videos, were always the most popular. And I'm talking about Linkin Park. If you lived through the early 2000s, you knew Linkin Park. And more importantly than that, the voice behind Linkin Park. Because today, we're going to be talking about Chester Bennington.
How's it, Chris? Are you talking about Chester Bennington? Yo, I love Linkin Park. I'm down to talk about Chester Bennington. Let's do this.
Aloha, Alvin. I'm really glad that you could join me today because this show, it means a lot.
Yeah, man. I'm always down to talk to you. It's always a good time. All right, let's do it.
All right, before we get into it, I want to remind everyone that we're part of the How's It Network. If you like the show, you can find it on all the popular podcast services. If you want to hear more from us or see what else we're doing, check us out at howsitnetwork.com. Also, make sure you follow our social media accounts at How's It Network. Before we start, Alvin, you got anything you want to throw in?
Yes, my name is Aloha Alvin, and you can find more of me at alohalvin.com.
All right. So Linkin Park we'd consider them to be a rock / almost like metal / alternative, whatever you want to call the early 2000s. There are a bunch of bands doing that thing. And they were ultra popular for a few of their songs. They were mostly well known for having a rapper in the ever so famous Mike Shinoda. So their songs, while having the rock element, they also had a rap element to them. And B, for having, one would call it screamo, even though it's not really. Okay, no, it was basically screamo, right? Like the type of singing that went on was very loud and emotional, but it wasn't that the singer was screaming per se. He just had that kind of voice. He could project on that level, and it was amazing.
Yes, it was.
And of course, we're referring to Chester Bennington, who was the lead singer of Linkin Park. They remained pretty popular, from the 2000s all the way, through a decade or more. They continued to release great albums. I would argue none as popular as the Hybrid Theory, which is the one, to me, is what they're really known for.
Right.
That was the launch pad. But, getting onto Chester Bennington, for those that don't know, I assume most out there know, the thing he's actually more known for than the albums themselves, arguably, is that he actually committed suicide
Mm,
not
mm,
entirely that long ago.
yes.
As I understand, he was always open about, struggles with depression and suicidal thoughts, but it seemed to the family and friends that maybe he was doing better, but yeah, he was just found in his home and he had hung himself, and it was really, really sad.
You know, it was interesting because when I first learned that information, I was actually in a room full of people, and CNN was on TV. Okay, wait 1 second. That needs to pass. So anyway,
That's
CNN
really
was on
loud. Holy
TV.
crap. But
Okay,
yeah, no,
okay.
keep going.
Moving on. So CNN was on TV, and of course they're talking about something, but on the bottom it has like the ticker tape thing, and I'm reading it because whatever, that's what I do, and it says something like Chester Bennington found dead, and I remember saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Like it just really bothered me, and everyone's like, "Dude, are you all right? What's going on?" I'm like, "That can't be right," and immediately I jump on my phone and I check, and it bothered me. I mean, like, of course, anyone dying at any time, that's a sad thing. And this one just bothered me even more so, actually, the more I thought about it. It just bugged me. I mean, I got a lot of reasons for that. And I can get into that in a second. But yeah, when I found out, it was a mixed thing. Of course, obviously sadness, also frustration. And okay, I'm not being cliche here, but some of that was denial too. Like this has to be fake. Fuck this. It has to be fake. And I remember looking it up and I'm like, oh shit. Every news source I can find is confirming it. That sucks.
Why do you think that this hit you like that? I mean, I can agree with the sentiment that when I found this
Yes.
out, I was like, whoa, that
Right.
that is major. Like, wow.
Okay, so there's multiple things. Yeah, of course, there's always multiple things. Okay, so let me start off with the biggest point I can give because I think this is an awesome point, and I cannot say this about anyone else or anything else. All right, so tangent here. Sarah McLachlan. I like Sarah McLachlan. I like her music. It is comforting to me. It's slow, good stuff. Having said that, holy shit, you need to be in the mood for Sarah McLachlan. Like you gotta be ready to listen to Sarah McLachlan. Like it's really sad, it hits
Like,
you.
like you got to be sleeping.
Not quite, but yeah, something like that. So
Okay,
okay,
sorry.
okay. The reason why I mentioned that is all right. So there is a band that when I am happy, I listen to them. When I am sad, I listen to them. When I am angry, when I am tired, when I am sleepy or about to sleep, I listen to them. And that band is Linkin Park. I'm not even kidding. All of those criteria apply to me. All of them. I'm about to work out. Boom, let's do it. Linkin Park. Like I cannot I cannot name anything else in my life that qualifies all those things. It's kind of ridiculous when I think about it.
Interesting. And
Yeah, yeah.
no, you say that, and immediately I think to where there have been studies. I'm not the scientist, but I've read about this shit. Right?
Okay.
Studies show that like music is that powerful. Right?
Mm,
You
mm,
you
mm.
we associate music and ironically smells, but
Yes,
music
yes.
definitely with memories and things that we're doing in life. When you hear a song, immediately you I mean, well, you think of the song, but a lot of us will relate that to, oh, I was listening to this song while doing this. Oh, it reminds me of that memory. And I can't say, I mean, I really like Linkin Park as well. I don't know that
Yes.
I can describe them in the way that you just did, but
Right.
if you can, I can relate to what you're talking about, right? Because when you see that, Chester Bennington has died, it's that would be like, whoa, like a big part of you has now been affected by that. All those memories come rushing back because he died, and that's a sad feeling. And now all these memories that you associate with that are now clouded with that kind of aura almost.
Okay. I don't. Thankfully, I haven't gone there, or at least I don't think I have. Not on a conscious level. I will say this though. So me and my friends, we used to joke about it. It was like, okay, so if you turn on the radio right now and you hear some oldies, who knows what you're gonna hear? Maybe some RESPCT or whatever, right? Because that is the oldies. That's what you hear. And the joke we would say is, dude, one of these days, Linkin Park might be on the oldies station, right? Like, isn't that how that works? After a certain amount of time, you hear it on the oldies, and we're like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. So I mentioned that because it was kind of a way of just taking them for granted that they'd always be around. Like, yeah, I'm gonna grow old and so will they, and whatever. I'm gonna see them. Like, okay, so just straight up here, bucket list. Fucking, they were on my bucket list. Yeah, like the moment I heard about what a bucket list was, I remember thinking, okay, let me make my own bucket list. Let's see what it would be. One of those was to see Linkin Park live. And that was one of the things that bummed me out too. That's very, very selfish, but I'm just being honest here. I'm like, fuck, I'll never see them together. That specific group of dudes that I know, I will never ever see them live ever. You know? And that fuck, it still bothers me. That just sucks. Yeah. Anyway, selfish. Very selfish thought. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So going a little more into the story, apparently, via I had read a article on Rolling Stone talking about how Chris Cornell had also committed suicide a couple months prior to,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
Famously of many things, but at that point, audio slave, right?
Yes.
And Chester Bennington apparently and Chris Cornell were good friends. Chester
Yes.
Bennington had actually performed a rendition of the song Hallelujah at the memorial service of Chris Cornell.
Mm.
There are those that say that the death of Chris Cornell heavily impacted Chester Bennington. And I'm not going to be the one that says that, if A, then B,
Right.
but
Right.
they were within months of each other. And it's really sad to think that that kind of thing can cause someone to have those types of feelings. It sucks. It really does.
Okay, so I had a very, very good friend who I keep referring to as Peanut Butter. So anyway, I remember getting a phone call, and this person knows all of us, and he says, "Hey, man, yeah, Peanut Butter had a heart attack." And I remember thinking, okay, whatever, whatever. Fuck, I don't care, because he's been in the hospital before, and I visit him. Fuck, I don't care. I'll visit him again, whatever. And I remember after the phone call, just kind of sitting there, and I'm like, man, am I about to cry over this? That's weird. That's just weird. It doesn't make sense. There's no reason to cry over this. Fuck, he's alive. Fuck, whatever. And then lo and behold, I'm crying like crazy. And then I remember thinking, because later on, eventually, you know what? I'm gonna have this as a quick aside because it's funny, and I think Peanut Butter would find it funny too. Okay, so anyway, he was a very good guy, and he was oddly innocent. It was weird. So a good example of this would be if he said something like, "Yeah, my sister's number is 555-555, but whatever, you're not gonna remember it." So the reason why I mentioned that, I'm like, dude, no. He said, "What do you mean no?" I'm like, you don't fucking just say numbers, man. People can remember that shit. He's like, yeah, whatever, Alvin. So the next day, I'm like, hey, man, 555. Are you fucking kidding me, Alvin? So then the next week, I'm like, hey, you know what I remembered the other day? What's that? 555. I just kept calling up his. See, because we're friends and we're fucking with each other. Now, the funny thing is, he told me 2 different numbers that day. And I remember thinking, okay, you know what? Peanut Butter, heart attack. You know what? I'm gonna call them. Like, I never talked to them. I was close to Peanut Butter, but I didn't know his family that well. And I remember thinking, fuck it, I'm just gonna call. So I called the brother-in-law, and I'm like, hey, this is Alvin, and I'm a good friend of blah blah blah. And yeah, if you could call me back, yeah, and etc. Right? And I was like, that was such a weird moment, because by fucking with him with the phone number thing, that clicked in my mind to be used later to call the brother-in-law. And I was just like, oh, that's weird. So anyway, more of this, which is also kind of sad. I remember thinking, okay, well, there's a point where he didn't pass yet. Then there's a point where he passed. Fucking cried like a baby. I'm like, all right, whatever. This is my own shit. I'm crying. I don't care. And then the day of the funeral, or before the funeral, I'm like, you know what? Fuck, man, I'm good. I've been crying so much. I'm good. I'm gonna be there and dry eyes. Fuck, I'm all cried out, man. I'm ready for this. And of course, I was wrong. I cried like crazy again. And it was funny because when there was the final lowering of him, I remember thinking, I'm good. fucking man, how much more can I give? Like, I'm good. I'm good. And then the the speaker there was saying something. Boom, I'm crying again. So anyway, well, first lesson from that is there is no such thing as all cried out because that does not apply, or at least not for me in this case. The second thing is, man, he's a good guy. I didn't think that was gonna affect me like that, but holy fuck, it affected me. I remember driving or being at the hospital, and I remember crying, and I remember thinking, okay, whatever, I'm crying out now, because it would be dumb to drive like this. And I remember afterwards, I was driving home, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm focus, don't crash, like wow, it's really hitting me. So anyway, that's super roundabout, and the reason why I mentioned that is I don't know how close Chester Bennington was to his friend, but if I was suicidal, I know peanut butter passing fucked me over so much that I could see it doing that to me. But thankfully, not my deal. That's not how my brain works, thankfully. But it rocked me way harder than I thought it would. And I don't know, maybe Chester had the same reaction.
Yes, 100%. Like that, there is no respite for the loss of someone.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I think that the relationships that we build with our time alive, as we'll call them,
Yes.
there's nothing that can really substitute for them, especially when they're gone. So it's completely understandable to think that when you lose something like that, it creates a hole that can't be fixed immediately. That would take time to really heal. So I guess the important part though is what action you take as a result, right? I mean, all cried out, it's a thing, and that's how we express emotions, excuse me, as humans.
Right.
And like you said, when you're driving, you'd be like, oh shit, like no, 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 I gotta try to keep it under control. But to drive you to the point to where I'm not saying that's what caused it for Chester,
Right.
but
Right.
we
Right, of
can't
course.
argue that it pretty likely affected him in some way, right?
Right. Of course.
So
Of course. Yeah.
I personally would not be able to understand, the switches that need to flip to get you to that point. I mean, I also have gone through, sad times and things like that,
Yes.
but it yeah, I'm not really sure what to bring to that.
Okay. Well, I will add this. So when Peanut Butter was alive, I used to tell him shit like, fuck, you're a good guy, and I'm glad I know you, stuff like that. And there aren't too many things that I think of in retrospect. But one of the things I think of is he never, ever, ever questioned my thoughts on him, ever. Because he knew. Told him was a good guy, told him I appreciated him. Actually, okay, I got a story or two here. So anyway, okay, so here's the story. There's a Mariah Carey concert, and I wanted to go. The first person who told me about it was like, hey Alvin, Mariah Carey's gonna be here. Fuck, that's great. Oh yeah, I sold out. I'm like, why are you telling me this then? Are you mocking me? What's the point of this? So then Peanut Butter, big on music. And I remember telling him like, oh yeah, Mariah Carey, that'd be cool to go, but I can't go. Oh well, whatever, shit. And then like a week or so later, he goes, dude, bam, tickets. I'm like, what the fuck? Row 19. I'm like, are you shitting me? Dude, that was fucking amazing, and I told him I appreciated it. That was amazing. So thank you. When everyone else can't deliver, boom, he delivers. Anyway, the reason why I say that is he knew how I felt. And that's not always the case with death sometimes. Sometimes the person passes and it's like, I should have told him this and I should have told him that. I will say this, we're two guys. We don't talk like this at all. So at the funeral, of course, I'm a fucking mess. And there's a lady, she just comes up to me and starts talking to me. And I don't know his whole family. I don't know everybody. This lady just starts talking to me. She goes, "Oh, I'm a close family friend. Like I'd have dinner with them and shit." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then she says to me, "He loved you." And I think I just cried more when she said that. But that was cool that, like, cause I never would have known that. That was a good moment, and it helped me heal. And I don't think people get to hear that too often, because he wouldn't say that to me. I'm not gonna say that to him. So that was just a coincidental thing, and it was very pleasant to hear. Sorry.
No,
Anyway,
it's okay.
yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up. Like, I'm not downplaying the whole like we're two guys. We don't say that. It's funny because I feel like now, as it now like 2018 more than ever, to where that stereotype is being broken a lot,
Mm,
and I
mm.
feel like I agree with you in that like I have that bias too, right? Like, oh yeah, we don't do that,
Right,
but
right.
I think even further and further on as information is shared and as society changes, I think that's going away. I think that stigma is slowly going away, and that's a good thing.
Right, right. Well, what I would say to that, unfortunately, is the key word there is still slowly. It's still there. It's still a weird thing for most guys. So I get that. Okay, anyway, Chester things. Chester things. Okay, so here's a fun thing. So, funish. But in the past, I would blast that shit. I love that music. Fucking just full blast, subwoofers, good times. Anyway, I had a neighbor. He didn't really speak good English, but we were talking once, and he said, because Linkin Park's playing, and he says to me, "Yo, that guy is good." A man who does not really understand English can still appreciate Chester Bennington. His voice was that ridiculous. I love when I think about that, because it's so true. We talked before about the engine, again, like trying to produce a star, that concept of the engine. Linkin Park, initially, they had tapes. I remember someone said to me, "Hey man, if you like Linkin Park, you should try this stuff." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just like Linkin Park." He goes, "It is Linkin Park." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm listening to it, and it's not like, okay, so in the end, One Step Closer, I know exactly the version that I know. I know it very well. These were, I guess, the original versions. Like, I'll just call them the first draft, writer terminology.
Sure.
And I remember listening and going, "Oh wow, one, this is way harder than what I know, way harder." And two, I appreciate my version more. It was a fascinating moment for me. And even then, I was like, "Oh, this is the engine, I think. This is someone told them, dial it down just a little, put in some rap, or whatever the conversation was." And then I fell in love with all their music all the time. So I thought that was an interesting moment too.
What I find interesting, even in addition to that, is that the transition of Linkin Park over the years has been amazing, and even more
Yes.
so with the singing of Chester Bennington. You mentioned the
Yes.
tapes, the first stuff, and even the early stuff, their first album. They were definitely poised more as your typical late 90s, early 2000s metal band,
Right,
like
right.
rock metal band. That was their thing. From then, they evolved from that into more of a rock with a little hip hop and rap in there.
Right.
They have a DJ, which is different from other like rock bands, and he's actually also the producer. They have a rapper in Mike Shinoda. And
Mm.
even from that, if you go further, if you kind of march the timetable even further, you get songs like Shadow of the Day, which is like a full on
Yes.
song as opposed to, not to say he doesn't sing normally, but it's an actual, it's more like a ballad. Like Shadow of the Day
Yes.
is way less of a alternative rock song than it is like a heartfelt like ballad. And then even further than that, it just that progression just kept on going. Like by the end, their most recent things before Chester passed away was completely different than the very beginning, and even completely different from what we found them to be good with when they first got popular. I find that
Mm-hmm.
transition to be fantastic. There are those that don't like that.
I
There
get
are.
that. I get that.
I've read things online over the years to where fans like think that they changed too much, that they've strayed too
Yes.
far away from what they originally were. But there's an argument to be made that that style of music from the early 2000s, which consisted of a whole bunch of like punk alternative bands, right? over the years, that didn't remain popular. It,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, if you listen to the radio now, you don't hear that every other song in terms
Right.
of
Right.
quote unquote your top 40 or whatever you want to call it now, right?
Right. Right.
It's not as popular of a genre as it was before. So
I get that.
I believe that Linkin Park, I don't think they purposely tried to stay with the times, but I do believe that their creative juices have kind of went along with is people like to hear. In the
Uh, uh,
end, they were a band out that either in one aspect could have adapted to the machine, like you said, or
yes.
two, just really paid attention to what their fans like. That's another way to swing it.
Yes. See that's a hard call. So let's do the good engine, and then after that the dumb engine for fun. So the good engine here is okay. Peanut Butter actually pointed this out to me before. This was a long time ago because we were talking about music. I don't remember the band. I'm gonna say Poison. Was Poison very loud and hard kind of music? I don't remember.
I think so. I don't know.
Okay, so there was Poison, and then there was something else, but they were also long-haired dudes. So anyway, their whole deal is hard, loud kinds of music. Then they would come out with one song that was super slow, and people loved the shit out of it. Whoa, changed the style, so amazing. And I remember commenting to him, that's really fascinating. Like that could be an engine thing that's calculated, and maybe that is what that is. I don't know. Because I would not follow them for their loud music, but I might follow them for their low-key music. Now, the reason why I mentioned that is Linkin Park has a song called My December. I don't know if you know that one.
Vaguely. That's
Okay,
more recent, I think, right?
I'm not sure. It might be older, but it's slow though. That's
Yeah,
my
okay,
point.
okay.
Like it's not loud, and yeah. Having said that, I just love it. I love all their music. That song is amazing, and I know people will love that too. And then I asked myself, was that the engine? I'm not sure. Like you're describing the transition over time. Was that the engine? I don't know. It could have just been something they wanted to create, and that would be amazing and cool too. But I'm not sure which one it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So transitioning into the dumb engine. So this I think was Mike Shinoda, but I remember reading this and I thought it was funny. So he was saying stuff like, when you're in the music business, everyone wants to throw in their 2 cents. And some of it's good and some of it is really not so good. So a good example is everyone was like, all the band members are there and they're having a meeting. And this guy who essentially is trying to be the engine, he's saying stuff like, all right, guys, okay, I want you to wear a lab coat all the time. And I want you to wear a eye patch, and the band member's like, what the fuck is this? No, it'll be cool. All right. Like you do this, you do like just silly ass shit that is not music. And Linkin Park was like, nah, you need to go fuck yourself because we have our look and our style and we're going to go with that. And I am grateful they did. I love their music. So that to me was always interesting because he was so open about it. He didn't say names, but that makes perfect sense. I totally believe that,
Interesting. So, are you in agreement then that they adapted because of the way that the music industry was going? Or like was it the bad, what do you believe it was the good
Ooh.
machine, or could it have been partially the bad machine?
I'm not sure. Just that whole thing about no man is an island. I'm gonna theorize it was both. People were telling them, you guys are too hard, tone it down, blah blah blah. Who knows? But I am grateful for the route that they took. I believe they were still the creators, which was also nice. See, a good example of the machine going awry is I am a Mariah Carey fan, and I definitely was in the past, but her high-pitched quote-unquote whistle. People apparently complained about that, and there was a lot of songs where she didn't have it anymore. And I, as an actual fan, was like, dude, where's the stuff that I like? What the hell is going on? So, these decisions are never easy. I will say, absolutely, though, Linkin Park has handled it better than most. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I have to ask you this, and I hope this does not come out as a negative question because I don't mean it. As a true fan, this is something I ask. And for any listeners right now, I'm asking you as well as fans. On my bucket list before, absolutely Chester Bennington. That was just on my bucket list. Let's do it. it fucking they were never gonna come to Hawaii. But if they did, like whatever the price, put me in there. I love these guys. Now, of course, that is no longer an option. Chester Bennington is not alive. The question I ask now is a Linkin Park concert without Chester Bennington. Should that be a thing? Should he be replaced like Journey's frontman? That guy is someone that wasn't in the past or whatever. I don't remember the specifics at all. But should that be the case? Would it be insulting for Linkin Park to have a concert without him? I don't know. I don't know how I feel as a fan.
I don't know the Journey story 100%.
Okay.
But there have been other bands that have gone through change outs of members, I'm sure.
Right.
But I believe that this one will be tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to just say like, oh, it was because of the way he died. But
interesting.
You can't argue with that being part of it. I'd like to believe that he would have wanted his teammates, his bandmates to go on and continue to make music together with or without him.
I get that.
So that's one half of the argument.
Sure.
But if you put yourself in that situation as part of the band or team, would you even feel like you could replace him?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to say just because he's the lead singer you can't. I mean, like you said, Journey did it really well, but realistically, Chester Bennington was a huge like face /
yes,
part of the whole Linkin Park identity.
Yes.
So if you want my controversial opinion on that, I think that the answer is no. That you don't replace him. If you do continue, I think, again, Chris's opinion only.
Okay.
I'm not saying that this is to be the popular opinion. I think if you do continue, you create some flavor where Mike Shinoda is now the lead man.
Oh, interesting.
And you adapt to that style of music because, and this is the machine argument again, that style of music is popular now.
Good point.
Right? That's where music is trending now, right? That type of little more hip hop type flavor, with a little bit of rap element, like Drake style of music. That's popular. That's hugely popular. And I'm not saying Linkin Park should jump into that exact sphere, but they could carve their own niche of that if they so chose to. That's just Chris's opinion.
Okay. So this is something that I've heard before and I wholeheartedly believe in it. It's called voting with your dollars. So if there's a product I like, I buy it. If I wanted to support some singer or whatever, I'd buy the album. I don't even know the album, but you're busking on a sidewalk. I like you. You seem like a good person. Here's some money. I'm supporting them. Now, obviously, I'm a huge Chester Bennington fan. Having said that, I'm also a Mike Shinoda fan. I like those other guys. If they did anything, I kind of want to support them. I would still feel a little weird because there's no Chester in there, but I wouldn't want Mike Shinoda to fail at anything he does. So that's an odd place to be standing in. Interesting. Okay, so a slightly different topic, although very related in my head. Pussycat Dolls. I'm going to go with the Family Guy joke because it is very insulting, but unfortunately true. By the way, I can name Nicole Scherzinger because I live in Hawaii and they talk about her a lot because I guess she's from here or something. I'm not sure. So anyway, in Family Guy, the joke they made was, hey, what's up, you 7 interchangeable women? Now that's mean. That is very mean. But I'm going to keep it real here. I can't name any of them. I can name Nicole Scherzinger, and I think I could spot her if I saw her in a crowd, again, because of the news, and I live in Hawaii. Linkin Park, I know those faces. And, we keep mentioning the 2 names, but I know the other guys' faces. I've seen the videos enough. I know what that dude looks like, and I know what that dude looks like. Like, I could spot them. So it's completely the opposite of interchangeable faces, Like, Chester Bennington, I know his face. I don't think I could ID his tattoos in a drawing or whatever, but Like I know he has tattoos. I know what he looks like. So I don't know how it would go. Like I don't know Journey. Aside from some of their big songs, I can't tell you which guy's which, and I couldn't spot them. Linkin Park, I could. I can say I wouldn't find it offensive if they tried. I would understand that they're trying something new. So hard call. Hard call.
Did you listen to Fort Minor?
Yes, I did enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, Fort Minor was good, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's not the exact same thing, but it's the same idea.
Yes. Yes. See, in that same sense, okay, so this is like going with the times and adapting. I don't know if the first few Linkin Park songs would have fit into a Transformers movie. But I do know what I heard in that movie while I was watching that movie. I had a damn good time. I enjoyed that song. So there was that transition, and it's an impressive transition. Not everyone can make it. You know.
Exactly. Like,
Yes. I want to dial it back a little bit here, so I'm gonna get gross because I think it's funny. And I
gross.
think we have a
Well,
little bit gross.
Okay,
No,
fuck.
no,
All
no,
right.
no, not like, not like that. Not Chucky or anything. No.
Okay.
So this is for the fact that we have adult listeners. I'm just gonna tell myself that. Okay. So Kevin Smith, all right, he says a lot of things about a lot of things, and one of the things I remember him saying was he was talking about, I forgot how he started, but the whole deal is he was talking about sperm. Okay, he's talking about sperm and eggs, and he was saying when you really think about it, like what is happening with sperm and eggs? What's the process of this, right? It's many, 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 many sperm trying to get into one egg. That's the whole point of that. And then he says the fact that that one sperm found that one egg is actually kind of ridiculous. If you do the math, that's like lottery level craziness. Okay. So on top of that, just by that impregnation, you are special. By being alive and having a fucking conversation or listening to two dudes on a podcast, you are alive. That's amazing. That connection happened and you are you. And that's incredible. There's a quote, and I don't remember who it was from, but it goes something like, you should always be you. You should be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of someone else. And I can't stop agreeing with that. I love that. It's great. And I think the Kevin Smith thing is good too, because like I'm just a guy. I'm not special. But hey, that one sperm met that one egg, and here I am. And that is special. It's not something that like it's not quite Michael Jordan's talent or anything kind of stuff. But I think that is special. The fact that you're alive is a good thing. If you have demons of your own that you're fighting all the time, I understand. I've absolutely been there. Okay, sorry. That's where I was going with that. And it's just, I don't think people hear that enough. Here's a really good one that I like. So the question now is, if you can see, if you're blind, hey, welcome to the podcast. Glad you're here. Okay. If you can see, the question is, how much is your vision worth? That's a fucked up question. Like that sounds like a dude about to stab you in the eye. It's really disturbing when you think about it. But the reason why this came up was some guy somewhere, I guess he was working in a factory or something. He got blinded. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that guy said, hell no, I'm suing this company. Then the company had to pay him because they blinded him. That's just what happened over there. So my question to you, Chris, what do you think? What is your vision worth? What is a man's vision's worth?
Oh boy. I mean, I don't know what order everyone will hear these shows because newsflash, secret, we record them out of order.
Sure.
But this is akin to another conversation we had. What is brain damage worth? And it was in the context of NFL players, right? Like they get paid millions of dollars, but a lot of them have, well, not a lot, you know what I mean, right? Like there's been studies done that to where they have brain damage afterwards because of all the hits they take. Yeah. I mean, it's a very similar question. Yes. And what is one's? I couldn't put a dollar value on that.
Okay. I mean, fair.
That's out of control. I mean,
okay. So the judge or the jury or everyone or whatever, they had to decide something.
Of course.
Now, the number one is in my mind, but I don't remember the exact number. So it was either 1 million per eye or 11 million per eye. I think it was 11 million.
Sure.
Yeah. So the reason why I say that is, people listening to this, look around you right now. Can you see a cloud or can you see a car? You have fucking millions of dollars in your head right now. Like that's what that is. Now, as a guy who uses his eyes every day, I don't think about it. I'm reading stuff, whatever. I'm looking at stuff, but that is something to be appreciated. You know, I'm uh, I'm just saying what we are, what we do. That is special. It is good stuff. The fact that I can get out of bed and stand on my 2 feet, I appreciate. Um, Actually, my very good friend, I keep mentioning him. He had issues with his legs. He could not even stand up straight. You know, like I appreciate that. It's like take a moment, appreciate it. You know, I'm glad you're here to listen to us, Chris. I'm glad you're here to converse with me. You know, it's just good stuff. It's just good vibes.
Yeah, 100%. Not to segue too much, but
Okay.
on the topic of, appreciation and like loss, it's not 100% related, but I will describe a similar situation that I felt, having seen or heard of a death like kind of like this. And it's not really, I don't know if I could do an entire show on this, but we'll go into it because we're down the rabbit hole already, and
Okay.
maybe you have more to talk about. So Chester Bennington passing away, that was huge. That was a big thing. But I will say that equally as big to me and the shock factor was the Christina Grimmie murder. Are you
Mm,
familiar?
a little bit. Yes. A fan,
So
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was crazy to me too. And
Yeah.
the only reason why I bring it up in the same light is because the way you describe like how you felt with Chester Bennington, when I first saw I don't know if it was Facebook or Twitter, whatever social media site, to where the headline was, singer Christina Grimmie murdered, like in
Right.
cold blood by a fan at a meet and greet. Like my
Right.
jaw was on the ground, like
Yeah.
literal, like wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that she was my all-time favorite artist of all time, but me personally actually watched her music on YouTube before she went onto The Voice. So
Mm, mm,
I had, thought that she had good stuff before she became famous, right? She was just another YouTube singer that did stuff like that. I thought it was cool that her screen name was Zelda X Love 64, and just
mm,
because of
mm.
the Zelda thing.
Yes. Yes.
And sang incredibly, became famous because of appearing on the TV show The Voice, and then had her own stuff come out as a result, even though she didn't win that show, and then murdered in cold blood. I was like, whoa. It's one of those to where it's not like she dealt with the same demons as Chester. Maybe she, again, not, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, right? But for everyone out there, it's another reason to where every day you kind of want to take a look at what you have
Mm,
and really appreciate it and understand that, yeah, you are special. Like, think about it every day, because while originally we're talking about, hey, if you have thoughts or bad demons or anything like that, you got to talk to people. You want to feel the appreciation. At the same time, you don't know what's going to happen to you day by day, right?
yes.
Like,
Yes.
of all places to have something like that happen to you at a fan meet and greet, that
Agreed.
is
Agreed.
crazy. That
Yes.
that's out of control, even though one would say that you're pretty vulnerable in that state. So,
Yes.
but
It's a weird thing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very weird thing. Anyway,
Okay.
I tell the story not to make light of it and not to, detract from the focus of the episode, but really when you kind of talk about appreciating the day to day, looking, I can stand up today. Seems like I take it for granted, but no, that's important. A lot of people can't.
Yes.
That's kind of where I go to, in that, like, in
Wow.
addition to, you want to constantly reaffirm to yourself that yes, you do matter. You may have demons, you need to get help, but also understand that your time here is there. There's a clock on it, depending how long that
Yes.
clock is, and you have no idea what can happen to
Yes.
you day by day. So you don't want it. It's not healthy to carry that negative energy, right?
Well, I agree. All right, Chris, I've never told you this, and it just seems to fit now, so I'm going to throw it at you now. I was digging up some stuff on YouTube, and I remember I was just kind of in an acapella mode because why not? It's just for fun. So I'm looking up stuff, and then there's a guy and a girl, and they're both singing, and I think it was a cover of a song that I already liked. So anyway, I'm listening. I'm like, oh, this girl's badass. I have no idea who that is. I'm just listening, and it's cool. So I'm like, you know what? I like this enough. I want to know the name. I'm gonna look this person up later. I'm like, oh fuck, it's Christina Grimmie. I was like, wow, that was a really weird moment. You know, I told myself I want more of this artist, and then I was like, oh right, the stuff Chris mentioned to me once. It's just a weird moment. That's all. Just she is an incredible singer. Yeah. Okay. Having said all that, I would like to add something else. So this is the thing that I especially noticed after Prince died. With that case, after he passed, holy shit, his songs were everywhere. They're playing it so much. People are buying the albums. Things are great. Good for that family and all the money. Good for Prince's family and all that good stuff. And then I thought, you know what would have been nice if this shit happened when he was fucking alive. Okay, like obviously these are Prince fans. Fuck. Can you support the guy while he's alive, please? Now, obviously that's impossible because Prince is not alive. Chester Bennington not alive. But whatever Mike Shinoda does, whatever Linkin Park crew does, I'm sure Chester would like to think, hey, good, I'm glad they're doing well. Support that too. It's a weird phenomenon that, random items go up in value after death. That's a weird thing to me. We live in that world, and that makes me sad. If you know someone who creates stuff, support them now. Hey, I like what you guys do. You're good people. Boom. Buy their album, buy their stuff, whatever. Random t-shirt. I believe in voting with your dollars. I believe in voting with your clicks. You like stuff? Click on the like button.
I totally feel you there. I mean, it's crazy to think that, like you said, things go up in value after people pass away. I assume that's because of the whole, like, well, I'm never going to hear from this person ever again. So now
Right.
I want to hear more. I mean, I can see that being I don't want to say natural phenomenon, but you know what I
Logical?
mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a logic to it, and
Yes.
I don't fault people for feeling that way. I mean, it's perfectly, it does logically make sense if you think about it, right?
Yes.
And really, if you kind of take it a step further, maybe that's okay.
Mm.
Maybe that's okay that people feel that way, upon someone's passing and be like, hey, I feel like I'm never going to get anything new. So I want to get what I can get, everything that there is, because I
Mm.
really do appreciate that person. Maybe that's okay. Or that part of it's okay. Right.
Mm.
The logic holds and it seems to fit. But I do agree with what you said in that fact in and of itself shouldn't prevent people from supporting while they're alive. The
Yes.
two are mutually exclusive. I don't think that the people who just support or support more when a person has passed should be like, well, I should have supported more when they were alive. I think it's okay to have people that have that feeling that they, upon passing, they want to, support. That's okay.
Mm.
But supporting something while the creator is alive and producing, and as you say, voting with your dollar is a separate thing from that should matter.
I get you.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, to
Yeah. I get
me,
you.
the two thoughts are mutually exclusive. Now, do the audiences mix from the two? Absolutely, they probably do, right?
Mm.
There are probably people who bought Prince's albums after he died that maybe should have bought them while he was alive in that case, right? Or,
Mm.
objectively should have, I guess,
Right.
right?
Right.
But I believe that those two things should be mutually exclusive. Yes,
Mm.
in general, we should support with our dollar, right? If you like something, buy it. Don't hesitate, because that just means that your favorite creators get to make more stuff that you like.
Yes. Totally. Totally.
That being said, if you have the feeling of nostalgia, and you can't get what you loved anymore and you want to support it, then that's fine too. In the end, that still goes to help.
Yes. Okay. So I'm a dial it back to some pretty dark and very real and very personal stuff because I think it needs to be said. So I was much younger before, and I had a friend tell me, "Yo, man, I'm feeling kind of suicidal," and it was not a joke at all, and you could tell just by the conversation. And I remember thinking, "Oh shit," like obviously I want to help him. He's my friend, and I have no idea what the fuck to do. So I brainstormed a bit, and I thought about guy things and guy goals. And I remember asking him, like, is there anything you want to do? And he's like, oh, what do you mean? So this is young Alvin brainstorming to save a dude's life. Try not to judge too much. I think I said something like, is there a guy's ass you want to kick? I know that sounds weird, but just think about it. Is there some guy you would love to beat his ass? And my friend's like, yeah, there is a guy. I'm like, can you do that before you do anything else? And it was a weird moment because I'm sure he was like, what the fuck tangent was that, right? But for me, it was just, I'm going to buy a little more time. That's all I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I'm going to buy a little more time. And I think the anger will keep him alive a little bit longer than the sadness. Just distract him. Keep him, goal motivated. That's all I could think as a kid. I didn't know what to say to my friend. And okay, first of all, he is alive. That has passed. Thankfully, I don't know how often he thinks suicidal thoughts. Now, to my knowledge, not so much. Good, all good stuff. Having said that, when I was in those shoes, I didn't know what the hell to do. This was in a separate thing, but I'm going to throw it down here because why not? And we can throw it down again later. So it's 1-800-273-8255. There are numbers for this. And just in case you won't remember that, because not everyone knows, not everyone can, you can always Google that stuff, give that info to people. Even if they're just joking about suicide or whatever, just throw it at them. Let them know. And the other thing, which I did not do, and he told me later, Alvin, you didn't do this. And I'm like, God damn it, you're right, I didn't do it. The thing I didn't do was I didn't tell him, fuck, you're a good guy. I'd be sad if you were gone. And stuff like, you mean a lot to me. Which he did. He's a good friend, It was one of those, I can't say that to him, which is kind of dumb. So I said what I said. He stayed alive. I think of it as mission accomplished, although it could have been handled better. But anyway, in that same sense, if you know someone battling these demons, please, there's always that number to use. And if you don't know the number, you can always Google it. And of course, tell them they matter to you. It's weird, right? Like, yeah, I shouldn't have to say that. In theory, I guess you shouldn't, but it's always good to hear. And it's not hard to say.
Not to make light of your story, but did he go beat that ass?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Interesting question.
Okay.
Interesting question. No, to my knowledge, no. We were much younger then, and that was an older guy. I don't know what the deal was.
Yeah.
Good point.
I'm sorry because for the listeners, I'm sure like you need to close the loop on that part of the story. Again, I'm not trying to make light of the situation at all.
I totally get that.
Not at all. But we definitely don't encourage anyone out there to answer depressing thoughts with aggression.
No.
Again, that was years ago. A young time, couldn't think of anything else. Panic mode. I gotcha. Yes. But for anyone out there, please do not suggest aggression.
No.
Like we said, the number that Alvin talked about, that's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. Also made famous by a song sung by Logic.
Yes, awesome song.
Whole separate thing, whole separate movement. But the point is, if you see something, say something. And if someone needs help, just know that if you can't help them directly, there's help out there that you can get.
True. Very true.
Wow. This was quite the show. Quite the show indeed. Alvin, do you have any closing words on this incredibly serious topic?
Okay. Yes, I do. I'm a talkative guy. I talk to my friends and people come up to me with stuff, and I regret not being able to handle it better because it wasn't just the one guy. More than one of my friends has told me they're in like a suicidal place. And were I better equipped, I could have handled it better. I can say thankfully that the people I know who have told me those things did not commit suicide. But although I do not have suicidal thoughts, I definitely have exes in my past, which is not the same thing, I know. But what I'm getting at is I know what it's like to have demons. I know that. Um, for me, battling my demons, talking to my friends helped. And I could tell even for some of them were like, man, we're tired, bro. We gotta call it a night or something. I'm like, no, I gotta say this, and they understand, and they're good friends. Just do what you gotta do. And of course, if for some reason your friends are unavailable, there are numbers you can call. They're there. To my knowledge, it's 24/7. I'm pretty sure. They're just
Absolutely.
always, yes, yes. So please get help if you need it. By all means, there's no shame at all. Do what you gotta do.
I'll echo your sentiment. I mean, I've had my own bouts with, being sad, being depressed, demons as you call it. And it always helps to talk to people. It always helps to try to keep yourself going and, living your day to day and not focusing on that. So anything you can do to get help.
Yes. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna end on one last thing. This is from Zig Ziglar. He's a motivational speaker, and there's a story in one of his books that I really liked. And he says, imagine if you lived in a place where everybody walked. That's just how it was. Everyone walks, the whole town walks, the whole city walks. But you own a car. You are the one person in this whole place with a car. Then, instead of driving, you park it and you walk like everyone else. And Zig is saying like, nah, man, that's a shame. Whatever you bring to the table, that's just you. That's badass because it's just you. There is no one else like you except for you. You are you. Don't deny the world that. Take that car out. You know what I mean? Like, show people what you can do. That's cool.
And with that, we want to thank you for spending this time with us on How's It Cousins, the podcast where we take a look at the unique people of the world and the things that they do, whether good or bad. We talk about it openly with you. We relate to it and we try to help you to relate to it as well. I really hope that you got something from this today. If you like what we do, you can catch more of our episodes on all the popular podcast services. I promise not all of them are as heavy-hearted as this.
Right.
If you want to see more from us, you can check us out at howsitnetwork.com. Check us out there. You'll see all the other fun things that we do. Follow us on social media at How's It Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check out our social feeds for all the latest up-to-date things.
Also, I am Aloha Alvin. You can find more at alohalvin.com.
Thank you very much for lending us your beautiful ears. And just remember, it's not goodbye because we'll see you next time.